Hey guys, last official lesson for the pink unit here, the quadratic equations, and of course, as practically always, I save problem solving for last. So we're just going to be looking at a variety of different types of quadratic equations. Here's where you will be allowed to choose the method you wish, and we'll look at that. So first thing we need to do is we're going to read it, and then we're going to do a let statement, or statements. One number exceeds another number by 5. If the sum of their squares is 433, determine the numbers. So we're going to need to deal with just one variable. So we're going to start with let x equal. And so what are we dealing with? Well, we've got one number. We have to compare them in some form or another, whether it's first, second, large or smaller. Here we have one number and another number. And honestly, that's what I do with my let statements. So we'll say that let x equals one number. And if the other number exceeds it by 5, then we'll have x and x plus 5. So now we need an equation. The sum, that's the answer we get when we add. The sum of their squares is 433. So we'll add their squares. And we'll get 433. So now we solve. So now we want x by itself. So we'll expand this, so that, don't forget, x plus 5 times x plus 5, we'll have 4 multiplications in 3 terms. I'm going to skip all that work and go right to that. And then 2x squared plus 10x. And then I'm going to make it equal to 0, so I'll subtract 433 from both sides. And now what I'll do is, now hopefully this will be factorable, but we'll start by taking out the GCF. This is definitely not looking to be a really pretty one, right? What do we do next? We'll legally get rid of that 2 by dividing both sides by 2. And then we'll have x squared plus 5x minus 204 equals 0. And now we're going to have to play around a little bit. It is factorable, so we'll just continue on from there. X plus 17 times x minus 12, 0. Now in some cases we have to reject negative values because for distances, for example, ages, we can't obviously have negative values for that, but we can have negative numbers. We already know that, right? So here's where it gets a little bit interesting because sometimes students at this point will say the numbers are negative 17 and 12. This is why our let statements are so important, because to get from one to the other, we have to take that x value and add 5. Well, when we take this value and add 5, we don't get to that answer. And when we take this value and add 5, we don't get to that one. So that's why we're going to end up with 2 separate answers. Negative 17 plus 5 gives us negative 12, and 12 plus 5 gives us 17. So for our answer, we have the numbers are 12 and 17, as well as negative 12. And if you took your calculator and took 12 squared plus 17 squared, of course, you would end up with 433, just like negative 12 in brackets squared plus negative 17 in brackets squared would also give you 433. And the last one, the length of a rectangle is 1 meter less than twice the width. If the area of the rectangle is 55 square meters, calculate the perimeter. So the way that I do this in grade 9 is I always say to students, okay, we're comparing the length to the width. The last one mentioned is going to be our x, and so width is shortest side of the rectangle. The length is 1 meter less than, and going way back to grade 9 again, when we have our less than, that's the one that doesn't go in order from left to right. So 1 meter less than twice the width. So the formula for calculating the area of a rectangle is length times width. So we'll go length times width, and then we'll multiply that dt. And remember, you can try to factor it. If you want to go right to the quadratic formula, by all means go ahead. So x equals 11 over 2 and x equals -5. Of course, we can't have a negative. We're going to reject this one because we can't have a negative distance. So now we're dealing with 11 over 2. You can change that to 5.5 if you want. I'm interested in the perimeter. So what we need to do then is figure out, well, we know that this is going to be our width. We need our length. So we'll go with 2 times 11 over 2 minus 1. So that'll be 11 minus 1. I should have put an equal sign there. Let me erase that. Equals 10. And that'll be meters. And so the perimeter will be twice the length plus twice the width. So twice the length plus twice the width, which is 31. The perimeter is 31 meters. So there will be no video lesson tomorrow, only the review assignment, and I won't bother attaching the exam content. You know, that matches what the review looks like anyway, and so tomorrow's will be a review period. You have the option of treating the review as an exam. I'll separate the answers, I think, for you. I'll just put them in a separate attachment so that if you wish to treat it as an exam just to see what you know on your own, you can do that, and we will, like I said, start our new unit on Wednesday. Take care. Bye.